Howdy, folks. This is Andrew from the Texomiya podcast, and I just wanted to bring a read up here for us since we were talking about the sound of silence, and I meant to try and bring this into the recording, but forgot to do it because that happens. But this is a reading that I wanted to share while we were talking about sound of silence and everything that comes with it. This is a reading from Anthem. It's a story about individualism, but I'll just read a little blurb from the beginning of it before I get into the reading that I'm going to do about the background of everything so that we can know what's going on. This says, "The world's end. They existed only to serve the state. They were conceived in controlled palaces of mating. They died in the home of the useless. From cradle to grave, the crowd was one, a great we. In all that was left of humanity, there was only one man who dared to think, seek, and love. He, Equality 7-2521, came close to losing his life because his knowledge was regarded as a treacherous blasphemy. He had rediscovered the lost and holy word, I." The part that I'm going to read here comes at the very end of the book after Equality, or as he later became known, as he named himself, Prometheus, and his wife Gaia, or Golden One, after they have rediscovered the word I in the books that they found in a cabin that was deserted after they fled. And they spent some time there and resolved eventually to rebuild what apparently had been a society of humans before them. And this is what he says at the end. "Then here on this mountain top, with the world below me and nothing above me but the sun, I shall live my own truth. Gaia is pregnant with my child. Our son will be raised as a man. He will be taught to say I and to bear the pride of it. He will be taught to walk straight and on his own feet. He will be taught reverence for his own spirit. These are the things before me. And as I stand here at the door of glory, I look behind me for the last time. I look upon the history of men which I have learned from the books, and I wonder. It was a long story, and the spirit which moved it was the spirit of man's freedom. But what is freedom? Freedom from what? There is nothing to take away a man's freedom from him, save other men. To be free, a man must be free of his brothers. That is freedom, this and nothing else. At first man was enslaved by the gods, but he broke their chains. Then he was enslaved by the kings, but he broke their chains. He was enslaved by his birth, by his kin, by his race, but he broke their chains. He declared to all his brothers that a man has rights which neither God nor king nor other men can take away from him, no matter what their number, for his is the right of man, and there is no right on earth above this right. And he stood on the threshold of the freedom for which the blood of the centuries behind him had been spilled. But then he gave up all he had won and fell lower than his savage beginning. What brought it to pass? What disaster took their reason away from men? What whip lashed them to their knees in shame and submission? The worship of the word we. When men accepted that worship, the structure of centuries collapsed about them, the structure whose every beam had come from the thought of some one man, each in his day down the ages. From the depth of some one spirit, such spirit as existed but for its own sake. Those men who survived, those eager to obey, eager to live for one another, since they had nothing else to vindicate them, those men could neither carry on nor preserve what they had received. Thus did all thought, all science, all wisdom perish on earth. Thus did men with nothing to offer save their great number, lose the steel towers, the flying ships, the power wires, and all the things they had not created and could never keep. Perhaps later some men had been born with the mind and the courage to recover these things which were lost. Perhaps these men came before the councils of scholars. They were answered as I have been answered, and for the same reasons. But I still wonder how it was possible in those graceless years of transition long ago that men did not see whither they were going, and went on in blindness and cowardice to their fate. I wonder, for it is hard for me to conceive how men who knew the word I could give it up and not know what they lost. But such has been the story, for I have lived in the city of the damned, and I know what horror men permitted to be brought upon them. Perhaps in those days there were a few among men, a few of clear sight and clean soul, who refused to surrender that word. What agony must have been theirs before that which they saw coming and could not stop. Perhaps they cried out in protest and in warning, but men paid no heed to their warning. And they, these few, fought a hopeless battle, and they perished with their banners smeared by their own blood. And they chose to perish, for they knew. To them I send my salute across the centuries, and my pity. Theirs is the banner in my hand. And I wish I had the power to tell them that the despair of their hearts was not to be final, and their night was not without hope. For the battle they lost can never be lost, for that which they died to save can never perish. Through all the darkness, through all the shame of which men are capable, the spirit of man will remain alive on this earth. It may sleep, but it will awaken. It may wear chains, but it will break through. And man will go on. Man, not men. And I'm reading this because the story tells us what happens when there is silence. This is a meditation that Prometheus has on what happened, what caused such a fall, and the answer lies partially in silence. It's a sobering set of passages to read, especially given the light of the way things are right now, but these are the things that we need to remember now and then. It does come at the end with a note of hope, but that seems to be parenthetical to the rest of what was going on. The hope is given to us in the fact that freedom and the human spirit cannot actually ever be lost. But in hoping that, we have to realize that it can be chained and it can be broken for a short time, and our generation can be the one to see it chained. Our generation can be the one to lose everything that was built up, not by us, but by those who came before us and had the audacity to do what they needed to do. Those people were not silent. Those people looked injustice in the face and called it what it was. Those people were the sorts that built civilizations. Those people were the ones who saved civilizations. Just as we can be. But it can't be done in silence. And it can't be done through inaction, or aloofness, or complacency, or through misguided entitlement. It has to be done through action and dialogue.